I should also mention yield curve control, which is sort of the beautiful or ugly sister, depending on which way you want to look at it, of quantitative easing. Quantitative easing, as we talked about, is we will buy lots of bonds, but it's ultimately a limited amount. We will buy a limited amount of bonds at any price. Yield curve control is the other way round. We will buy an unlimited amount of bonds, but at a fixed price. Now, quantitative easing is a bit like a Chinese finger trap. You can get into it, but it's bloody tricky to get out of it. You can get out of it, but it is a bit bloody tricky to get out of it. Yield curve control is perhaps on many metrics, they just set the price and say, okay, this is the price of the debt. And if people try and push the yield above that level, well, the government just buys it. The government will always step in and buy it. So it fixes it at that price. And on some levels, you might think, okay, well, this is a superior mechanism. But if quantitative easing was a Chinese finger trap, yield curve control is like a steel bear trap. And once you're in it, you're probably not ever going to get out of it. And we kind of know this because the Japanese have been doing yield curve control for decades. And their debt situation has become quite absurd. They're up to 200-something%, maybe 240, 250% of GDP to debt. Their debt is just mental. And they know that this isn't ideal. And they keep trying to extract themselves from it. And every time they try, they kind of start to edge out, and then the market just throws a proper wobbly fit. Now, we've already covered why these big bond markets are so fragile, and why you mess with them at your absolute peril. And the Japanese, every time they try and do anything, even a little bit, to try and extract themselves from this situation, the bond market starts to wobble in such a way as they always then back down. So yield curve control is seductive, but you're never getting out. And all the time I hear Western policymakers saying, oh, maybe we should do that instead. Because short term, it will be easier. It's just, at least at the moment, we have some potential to rectify the situation. As slim as it is, once you're in yield curve control, then, we'll just bloody give up. You become Japan, but without the Japanese productive output, so you're in trouble. So where are we now? The Fed is saying that it's trying to normalise. It's what it's trying to do is it's trying to let the bonds that's already issued mature, shrink over time. Quantitative tightening is letting stuff roll off. The opposite of quantitative easing, when you reverse this process, quantitative tightening, letting it roll off. Its balance sheet at the Fed is still very bloated. It's got over 7 trillion in assets, which is a very big number. And what are they going to do if there's another crisis? Well, I mean, they're just going to fire up the money. Well, the money printer. I say money printer. They're going to type the keyboard and then do the convoluted process of buying bonds off market participants so they can buy more and do other stuff. So I fully expect them just to come back to money printing. Next time they get into this, it's a bit of a drug. This stuff. Once you're on it, bit more tricky to get off it. So now, I think, having explained that little lot, we can kind of get to the core question that I keep getting asked, which is, okay, well, who owes all this debt? And it's split into two major parts, which the Fed recognise as debt held by the public and intragovernmental debt. When they say intragovernmental, they mean the US government, and by debt held by the public, they mean everybody else, including other governments. So intergovernmental debt is 10.5 trillion out of a 37 trillion. So the US government owns a lot of this debt itself, and it's mostly in Social Security and Medicare, because they know they've got this whole series of well, with Social Security, they know they've got this whole series of payments coming up. With Medicare, they know they've got all these obligations of medical goods and services that they need to fulfill. And so these programs have been buying a lot of this debt in order to fund themselves going forward. And this is why when the politicians say, well, you don't worry about it because it's money we owe to ourselves, it's like, well, yeah, okay, but are you going to close down Social Security and Medicare? And you're not, are you? So it doesn't matter if you owe it to yourself if you are then dependent on the cash flows that they produce.
If you would like to see the full version of this premium video, please head over to lotuseaters.com and subscribe to gain full access to all of our premium content.